Hey, welcome back. Project Smoke number 6 here. Let's talk about what we discussed last time and the progress I've made. I built these counters here. These are 9 across by 6 width, and I used my expanded metal mesh underneath. I used 1 inch by 8 angle iron, and what I did was I built them on my table. And you go ahead and go underneath, and you weld the mesh underneath. You just cut it out to measure, and you weld it every few inches on the corners. I welded every seam. That way you could never push this down. It'll stay solid. It ain't going nowhere. Both sides. I made them both even, 9 by 6 squares. Went ahead and cut a rod, 1/2 inch stock. You could use this as a utensil hanger, or you could hang a towel, whatever you want. And that's also 9 inches. So I got 9, 9, and 9, so it's all uniform and even. Once I had it all welded up, I plumbed this and squared it on my table with a 2-foot level. I put it across, and I just make sure it was plumb and level, and I went ahead and tack welded these on. And you just come back to your smoker and adjust it as you need. Just with a little tack, you could bend them a little bit. Once you have them right where you want them, just go ahead and weld them on. I came in here and I just gave myself a little bead of weld all along, and that's just temporary for now. What I'm going to do is get a piece of 1/2 inch stock rod. This is part of the finishing touches as well. I usually leave some parts for finishing touches. Come here and cut them in 45s and weld them on. Weld them on. Make sure you're plumb and level both sides. Let's go over the smokestack. Went ahead and built this smokestack here. I used a 90-degree angle, and that's 1 inch by 1/8 square tubing. I cut a 45 on the end right here, and I cut one on this end here. This is a 12-inch piece coming up. I welded 2 pieces together as a dual smokestack. I welded along in here, welded down the sides and the bottom. This right here is 5 inches, so I got 3 inches sticking out. I got 2 inches inside the smoker. I built these on my table, and then I went ahead and welded them on my table. You can see I have no weld bead on this side. It'll be showing a lot more. So I went ahead and I came on this side here, and I gave myself a bead across. On this bottom half, I did the same thing on the bottom. You can't see it, so I did a bead of weld on the bottom. I built it on my table. I came back and I just went center of my smoke chamber here, and I went just above the racks inside, just a couple inches above the racks inside, and I went ahead and cut out my my opening and welded it. Just gave myself a tack. Take your level, make sure you're plumb and level both sides, and go ahead and weld it in. Get a good penetration for no leaks in there. So there's Project Smoke with dual smokestacks and the counter. Getting ready to do my firebox here. As you can see, I cut out my door here. It's gonna sit like that. I got a good tip a couple days ago on this door before you cut it out, but I had already had it cut out. Tip was, when you're gonna go ahead and be ready to cut this out, cut out your top end, have it all cut out all the way through, and go ahead and roll your hinges on. Same thing, you go 1 inch from the cut up to center and out this way. Just divide your hinges where you want them. You go 2 inches each way, or 3 inches, whatever you want, or less. Same thing, 2-inch hinges, end to center. It's just like building the fire smoke chamber all over again, except it's just a smaller one. That's all it is. So once you cut this, weld your hinges on, and they're set. You go ahead and cut the rest out. That's a good way to do it. Next project I'll be doing that. I'll give it a try. Here's the door for this. Like I said, it's just like building a smoke chamber all over again. It's just a fire box. That's all it is. Here's an example of all the vice grips I use, just so you get no gaps in between. You can't see daylight right through it. I'm using 1.25" by 1/8 stock flat bar. See how easy that is to bend. Cut it on 45s, or just cut square cuts and just meet them, meaning like that. Take note, when I measure my piece coming across this way, get your measurement from end to end at 5/8. That 5/8 has got to be sticking out for your 1.25" there. Same thing on this side for your 45s. Or if you're going to go square cut, you want to be 5/8 square all the way out. So you're 5/8 inside the door, and 5/8 is going to rest on the firebox or your smoke chamber. So I just tack welded a couple of sides, so I could cut out for my hinges. Before I cut out my hinges, I'm going to weld on each side, of course. That way it doesn't warp up. So there it is. There's the firebox and the door. I'm working on that right now. Try to get this ready. Getting real close. Next thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go ahead and mount that firebox on this left hand side right here, and I'm going to start working on wheels and start butting this thing up. It's getting real close, and I want to go ahead and talk about seasoning it next video. Get your canola oil or your peanut oil or your cooking spray, whatever you want to use, and I'll go over how to season this thing before you start cooking on it. I want to do a couple burns on it just to take any unwanted unwanted toxins out. Alright, hope you enjoy.